every federal worker you cut, every federal dollar you cut, every federal grant you cut causes in the private sector this many people to lose their jobs and this many people to lose money. If they're successful at what they want to do, aside from leaving Americans less safe, they are going to also leave them poorer.
Sam Seder on the Majority Report broke down the ripple effects that we're going to see from federal workers losing their jobs and how devastating that could be to our country. And he demonstrated this through a caller calling into MAGA moron Sean Hannity's show, talking about military people losing their jobs. We're going to take a look at clips from Sam Seder on the Majority Report. I have opinions on this too. Let's get into it together.
You know, we can afford to build that fence in the backyard or whatever it is. And because you were just promoted, you got fired. Or I'm in civil service. I know there's a cap on what I can make, but I know this is a secure job because I go in and I do my job well every day. I got a good review and government work. Again, I'm not going to become a millionaire, but I am doing good for people and I'm doing a good job, so my job's secure. Nope.
Eric is in Wisconsin. Hey, Eric, how are you? Glad you called.
Hey, Sean, thank you so much for all you're doing. We sure appreciate it here in Wisconsin, and we tried to help out this election cycle. So,
well, you helped out big time. You did. Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, all of you helped. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wish we could have got Tammy Baldwin out of there, but it didn't work out too well. So, but
yeah, well, you came close. I mean, unfortunately, you know, you don't win every game you play.
Yeah, right. But hey, I just awesome stuff that DOGE is doing with Elon Musk, and we sure appreciate it out here. Is we're kind of farmers and taxpayers and all that good stuff. But one thing I'm concerned about.
I'll tell you something. I like
moron.
God. We'll get to this in a second. USAID, what the annual budget is. But farmers get a big piece of that, a significant piece of it. The taxpayers and farmers in Wisconsin, they're not going to see a single dime of savings, but they're going to see a lot more in terms of costs, because the profit making by corporations who are now not going to have to worry about regulators is going to come at the expense of the consumers, of the citizenry. Continue.
Yeah, that out here is we're kind of farmers and taxpayers and all that good stuff. But one thing I'm concerned about, Sean, a little bit, and I'm concerned the liberal media might run with this, is one of our tenants just recently got laid off from the USDA, and he's disabled vet, multiple deployments overseas, and yeah, the guy is without a job now, and I'm just afraid that you know, stuff like this is going to get out there. And I know you got a soft spot for military and police.
Pause it for 1 second.
EMS
I love the fact that like it's his tenant. Like, I'm worried he's not going to be able to pay me for rent. I'm a little concerned that this guy, I'm not going to pay me for rent. I wonder if Sean's going to say, well, I know you're going to do your part and not charge him rent for however long it takes him to find a job.
Right. That's the thing about this so-called waste, is like so many of these things are providing good jobs, and
government doesn't provide jobs. Government doesn't provide jobs.
Well,
government doesn't create jobs. Isn't that what we were told?
I think that might be, we might want to look back.
Do we have to go all the way back to like 8 years, 10 years for that? Go ahead.
I saw a report about one of the areas where they had cut 200 federal jobs. And they said in that area, the average person made about $41,000 per year. The average federal worker at that office made about $90,000 a year. So I keep seeing people say, well, these people lose their jobs, they can just get another job. And I talked to a friend of mine about this the other night, and I said, okay, these federal workers, like in my area, they lose their jobs. Then what are they going to go and do? And he says, well, nobody wants to work right now. They're hiring at not FedEx, at Home Depot and Lowe's. And I said, okay, what does that pay? $10, $12 an hour? So these people that have been making $90,000 an hour, I know the right wingers say, well, you're not guaranteed a job by the federal, this shouldn't be a lifetime job in the federal government. But even if you don't care about these individual people, if you just look in your local community and those people are trading $90,000 a year jobs for $10, $12, $15 an hour jobs, then those people are no longer going to be spending as much money in their local community, if they can spend, much money at all, if they can even stay in their homes. So in lots of areas, particularly rural areas, the federal jobs are the best jobs that there are. So not all of these people are going to be able to just trade that out for another comparable job.
All those guys, and just a little concerning that we don't let these guys, fall off the wagon here and get neglected, because they've done so much for our country.
Look, I don't like to see anybody in a position where they're going to lose their job. In the case of USAID, and obviously your friend, I'm sure, is not a part of this, but there was, tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars just thrown down the drain and stolen from the American.
First off, he doesn't address the USDA, which is what the worker was working at. So they just use USAID because it's the low-hanging fruit where everybody thinks that there are tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars of fraud and waste, because it all is going out the door to foreign governments. The USAID budget is $40 billion annually. Of that, a minimum of $2.5 billion goes directly to U.S. farmers. Now, I don't know how much it costs to ship that food, but those are also American companies that are shipping that food. And those farmers have to be paid to grow that, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to survive. This is not about the USDA loans that we've heard, farmers getting screwed over because of it. It's not about SNAP cuts that are coming in the Republican budget. When they complain about USAID, it's like, why would we spend $10 million on Sesame Street in Iraq? Haven't we done enough to those people there? Didn't we blow up their whole civil society? Why would we spend $1 to replace it? Why would we spend any money in Afghanistan? Well, who cares if Ebola is spreading like wildfire in certain parts of Africa? I mean, what could possibly hurt us here in the wake of a pandemic? Why do we care about providing support? We could just ultimately bomb them. Why would we even provide any aid?
And Sam Seder's right about what he's saying here. He's getting a little bit off the topic of just people losing their jobs, which is what I wanted to focus on in this video. And with this caller on Sean Hannity's program, he's a perfect example, I think, of the conservative or the MAGA mindset, whatever term you want to use for that, where it's like, yeah, fire all, you have all these lazy federal workers over here and they don't do anything. I see this all day long on social media, and even, people in my own community are talking about this. They don't do anything. They're just lazy and they're just clocking in, and then they go and walk their dog and go and have lunch or whatever they do. But don't, my friend Charlie over here, he's a military guy. He's a disabled vet. He's one of the good ones. Don't fire him. Yeah, most of the government people are lazy and they're terrible, and they're just gaming the system and all that. But not Charlie. He's a good guy. Don't fire him. and then Charlie gets fired, and then they're upset. You know, it's a lot like what we saw in the first Trump term, and we're going to see this in the second term as well. All the people who cheered and wanted immigrants to be deported, and then it's the guy that owns the local restaurant. Oh, not him. He's been here for years. That's my favorite restaurant in town. We don't want him to get deported. Or, you know, it's their spouse. Well, my husband, he's one of the good ones. Don't kick him out of the country. So, you know, again, to me, that's the conservative mindset of, well, these other people don't affect me, so screw them. But not my friends, not my family members. You know, they're good people. Don't do this to them. And these people are going to see quickly. I mean, I keep saying this over and over again, but I had a guy just in my local community that was saying, oh, I hope they fire all those federal workers. And I guarantee you this guy in a couple of months will be saying, hey, you know, the coffee shop down the street or the little diner or whatever that I used to go to, can you believe it? They closed. Why did they close? Is it because nobody wants to work? No, idiot. They closed because they fired a bunch of people that had jobs that paid well, and now there's not enough people to eat at your favorite restaurant. It's pretty simple. And, you know, I hadn't even thought about this where it's like, I mean, I only have so much sympathy, but somebody who's a landlord and they're renting to somebody who is working for the government, or even, you know, the government worker gets fired, the local business closes, they can't pay their rent, the landlord isn't getting any rent. It's just, you know, people try to act like all these things work in a vacuum, and they don't. These federal jobs are good jobs, and if they fire a million people like they're talking about, it's going to have a huge impact on the economy. But let me know what you think about all this. Do you agree with what Sam Seder has to say on the Majority Report? Do you agree with what I have to say? Let me know in the comments what you think. This is Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.